Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Well folks, it's once again Groundhog Day, or it's a Groundhog video, whatever you want to call it, because the biggest clown at Fox News ever since Juan Williams left, Geraldo Rivera, after the SCOTUS decision, releases essentially the exact same tweet that he released after the SCOTUS draft leak. I swear these people are just not paying attention at all. I mean, could you imagine working at the biggest media outlet in the world, working at Fox News? You're essentially a political analyst and it's your job to understand the facts, and to just get it so wrong not just once but twice, to continue to double down on this garbage talking point even though it has no bearing in reality at all. Geraldo Rivera in early May, after the SCOTUS draft leak, went on a Twitter tirade. American politics will now mostly be about abortion. That is the battleground. Immigration, war, even inflation will pale in comparison to the heat this brings. SCOTUS has breathed life into the Democrat Party with this incendiary issue. Now watch, Republicans will lose the suburbs. Yeah, not exactly. Ever since May, Joe Biden's approval has continued to tank. It just hit another all-time low. His average approval rating is almost hitting 38%. And of course, as we've been covering, Democrats are underwater on every issue, including abortion, including gun control and gun violence. And the Republican midterm polling lead continues to widen. Now, you would think Geraldo Rivera would be actually paying attention to the facts, but of course not. June 24th, 2022, Geraldo writes, "The High Court has given Democrats perhaps the most potent election issue. Hopefully the rage at SCOTUS will manifest itself as political activism and not violence." And well, here we are once again, almost 2 months later. Geraldo Rivera is just as wrong and uninformed about the facts as he always is. Let me show you guys exactly what I mean by that, and I'll back it up with some evidence. We've got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright friends, so the claim from political experts like Geraldo Rivera is that this is a losing issue for Republicans. I covered why it's not in a previous video that should be releasing today as well, but really that shouldn't even be the focus. The question isn't, is this a losing issue for Republicans? The question is it a winning issue for Democrats? And the answer is unequivocally, absolutely not. We get more and more and more evidence, and frankly, it's starting to pile up. You know, the general sentiment surrounding Sleepy Joe and his presidency is that of failure and inaction, disappointment. Joe Biden's a lame duck who's accomplished nothing, especially legislatively. When it comes to far-left progressive demands and policy positions, he's a failure. And we're always hearing the same thing from leftist activists and leftist voters. They're disappointed. In fact, you might even say they're getting black-pilled. And we keep seeing it over and over again. Here's a little moment from MSNBC, which puts it all into perspective.
For abortion rights. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Appreciate it. Zoe, talk to me first about why it is you wanted to come out here today, because something that struck me was when you were speaking earlier and you mentioned your anger because you had received a text message from the Biden campaign. Why is that?
So I received a text message from Joe Biden's campaign yesterday saying that the Supreme Court had overturned Roe versus Wade, and that it was my responsibility to then rush $15 to the Democratic National Party. And I thought that was absolutely outrageous, because my rights should not be a fundraising point for them or a campaigning point. They have had multiple opportunities to codify Roe into law over the past 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and they haven't done it. And if they're going to keep campaigning on this point, they should actually do something about it.
What are you most worried about, Julia?
They're starting to realize that the Democrat Party is useless at advancing their agenda. The Twitter user who made this post went on to write, "F the Democratic Party, they will not save you. Organize your community. Be mad. Burn-ish down. From top down, from the federal level to the state to local, Democrats are funding the police. LAPD has a $3.2 million budget. They took more than half of the city's COOF relief funds. F the Democratic Party, they do not have a plan. They just want to fundraise." And this Twitter user just goes on and on and on. It's nothing but discontent from the far left crowd. They voted for Joe to codify Roe, to cancel student loan debts, to expand the Supreme Court, which, by the way, Joe just came out on the record claiming that he is not in favor for that. When it comes to healthcare, when it comes to all of the left-wing policy positions, Joe has failed. And so this idea that all of a sudden Democrats got the golden egg. Exactly what they needed to win in 2022 is a farce. It's a joke. You know, left-wing support of the Democrat Party is real low, and Democrat enthusiasm is lower than Republican enthusiasm by 20 plus percentage points. But all of a sudden, according to Geraldo Rivera, Republicans are going to lose the suburbs? What? If Geraldo Rivera was a campaign strategist, he would be the worst of all time. I mean, the facts are clear. Nobody's top issue is Roe v. Wade. I mean, in general, abortion is not really something that affects most people, and certainly not people in the suburbs. If anything, it's more of a big city thing, where people prioritize their careers over starting families, or an inner city thing based on socioeconomic conditions. And this idea that lefties acting like complete psychos in the street and threatening to burn things down and assaulting people, that's somehow gonna benefit the Democrats, again, is a complete joke. There's much bigger fish to fry, folks, much bigger issues that Americans care about. And you know what? Let's try to be as charitable to the Democrats as possible. Let's take their favorite polling outlet, YouGov and CBS. I mean, just look at the issues. The most important issues are the economy, inflation, immigration, crime, and gun policy. Guess what? Republicans lead significantly on every single one of those issues. And even when it comes to gun policy or gun control and the issue of Roe v. Wade, Democrats are underwater. It's not like they're winning anywhere because they seem fake. Probably because they are fake. Roe v. Wade gets overturned, and the Democrats' first response is, let's fundraise off this issue. I mean, what an insult. What a slap in the face. The reality is they're not going to do anything. They won't be able to accomplish anything when it comes to this issue. It's nothing but virtue signaling and political campaigning. Here's a great example from Vice President Kamala Harris. She's getting absolutely dragged for this tweet, posting this photo right over here. I know there are women out there who are afraid. To those of you who feel alone and scared, I want you to know that the president and I are fighting for you and your rights. We are in this fight together. Posting a picture of her watching CNN from a private jet. Yes, the president and the vice president are working so hard and fighting for you by doing nothing but trying to fundraise and push tone-deaf, political, empty gesture tweets like this. What a joke. Not gonna happen. And honestly, if anything, Republicans might make gains. One voting demographic, Hispanic voters, largely religious Catholic voters, who are generally on the pro-life side. Joe Biden's job approval continues to trend downwards among Hispanic voters. In May 2021, Joe Biden had a 55% approval rating with Hispanic voters. In June 2022, that is down to 29%, from a positive 26 spread to a negative 24. Joe Biden's gonna win the suburbs, Geraldo says, as Joe Biden's approval rating in New Hampshire just hit 26% overall. 26% in a state that's largely suburban and relatively moderate in their politics. It's just not gonna happen for the Democrats, folks. It's just too little too late. Oh, and I almost forgot, but I saved a bunch of tweets from right after the SCOTUS decision, and there was one trend throughout. Discontent with Joe Biden and Democrats. Here's a response to Barack Obama. If only someone had the power to do something about it. Linking to a New York Times article where Obama promised that he would codify Roe v. Wade, but didn't. Here's an anonymous Twitter user. Wake up and do something, you geriatric F, in response to Joe Biden. Here's John Iadarola from the Young Turks. I am once again asking for the Democrats to effing do something. Here's another Twitter user. Democrats have the House and the Senate. Do something, you effing cowards. Here's Twitter user Lauren Badillo Malici. Joe Biden, do something, literally anything, challenge. Here's another Twitter user. Why the actual F is the literal president of the United States complaining about stuff? Oh, I'm so very disappointed. Okay, well then do something about it. You are literally the effing president. Joe Biden about to say something like, this is horrible. Someone should do something about this. Can't wait for Joe Biden to tweet something like, we have to do something to protect our nation's women, and then do nothing. Man, it would be great if Democrats who control Congress and the White House at the moment would use that power to do about anything. Democrat voters are getting black-pilled, folks. And that's not the recipe for electoral success and mass Democrat voter turnout like Geraldo thinks it is. That's the recipe for doom and gloom, people not showing up to the polls, and Republicans winning in sweeping victories across the nation. This is not the political win that Democrats think it is. Just like the January 6th phony sham committee wasn't either and delivered nothing but the opposite of their intended results. In other words, Geraldo Rivera, the biggest clown at Fox News since Juan Williams left, has absolutely no idea what he's talking about. Thanks for watching, folks, and I'll see you on the next one.